Express Football Club got their first point in the new Uganda Premier League season. Now, can the grass get any greener for Judge Simogere's side? They have a big encounter and more of that coming up this weekend. Don't forget that there is a break for the English Premier League and all the other top leagues in Europe. We are heading into the international break. The Uganda Cranes in action. Also the big one on Friday. Germany against the Dutch. Welcome to the Just Darren Show, powered by Betway.
Betway's Fort to Score is back and better than ever. Play our weekly soccer predictor where you can win your share of an amazing cash prize each week. Simply choose the first goal scorers in 4 selected matches and submit your selection before the first match kicks off. Entry is free, and if the prize isn't won, it'll roll over to the following week. Bet your way with Betway.
Now, after 180 minutes of football, only defending champions KCCA and Vipers do have their 100% record. 6 points from the 2 games that they've played each. And we're heading into match day number 3, where, of course, the side that is sponsored by Betway, that is Express, managed to pick their first point of the season in the 1-0 draw against Bright Stars. I think they'll continue to struggle this season unless reinforcements are made. That is, in the defense, in the midfield, and in the striking positions, especially in the areas of creativity. I watched one shot. It should be Joshua Musoke, who came on in the second half against Bright Stars. He did quite well. Not to forget Frank Senyondo, who actually scored the goal for Express in that victory, which is actually Express's first goal of the season in 2 matches. Remember, Express is recovering from that opening match that they did play, and actually they did not pick the result. So you find in this one against Onduparaka on Saturday, it is an afternoon kickoff in Wankurukuku. Onduparaka, who have only been reinstated back home at the Greenlight Stadium in Arua, should as well be fighting for points here. But here's the interesting statistic, and one that could affect Express. Express is struggling to get goals. I watched Frank Kalanda miss a couple of opportunities, same as Frank Senyondo. Disan Galiwango was pretty much industrious off the left flank, but could not get the ball into the back of the net. And Express actually has not won against Onduparaka in the Uganda Premier League. And of course, this rolls back to about 2017. When you look at this statistic here, Express has actually last scored against Onduparaka back in October 2017 in a 2-1 loss. In the last 4 meetings, Onduparaka has won 2, they've drawn 2. Those 2 draws have been goalless. And yet again, this weekend, Express, the coach, Judge Simogerere, he must improve, especially when they get into the final day. But I do think Express can pick something, especially if they do start well, because they are a team that is fancied for starting pretty much well. And I do think they could be the same thing this weekend when they start. They lost to Bold 1-0 away from home on the opening day of the season. And of course, after the point, you think now they are graduating into picking a result. I do think that they do stand a chance to win, but Onduparaka themselves have lost a couple of players, 2 or 3. Rashid Toha leaving to join Vipers, but not to forget some other players like Vitali Stabo, who has Football League experience, returning to the side together with Sizo Kuti. Those are some of the players that I do expect Onduparaka should be throwing to the starting 11, just like they did in the 1-0 loss to Proline on match day 2 this week on Wednesday. Now, of course, moving on from other teams to teams like Wakiso Giants, who reacted to the 1-0 loss to KCC on day 1 with a 3-1 victory over Uganda Revenue Authority. Wakiso Giants as well returning to action this weekend. I do think they should be winning their game that they do have when they take on the side that is Toro United. This fixture will be played in Wakiso on Friday. And then as well, URA, my picks to beat Chetume to recover from that loss to Wakiso. Chetume lost out to Maroons 1-0 on match day 2. Even if they beat Sports Club Villa 1-0, I think URA have got the armor to go on and win this particular encounter. I actually expect this one to be an over, because Sam Simba's side is fond of banging in the goals. They did score against Wakiso, and they had already put 3 past the side that is Maroons. I still think they will score again in this one. Now, of course, the other team that I can talk about is KCCA. Later on Friday, they visit Maroons in Luzira. Maroons beat Chetume 1-0. KCCA have 6 points. They've just been quite impressive. They're yet to concede a goal. They did beat Wakiso 1-0, and then they did travel away to Busoga United, winning 1-0 there. Mustafa Kiza taking away the free kick. I think Mike Mutebi, could still polish up for them to pick the result away at Maroons. Maroons who do not seem to throw the lines of consistency in these games going forward. But I do think that KCCA, Wakiso Giants, URA, and probably Express will be winning their games this weekend. You can bet on these ones on www.betway.ug. Not to forget Vipers, who do take on Bull. Vipers as well to win in that one. You could as well pick the man that is Fahad Bayo to be on the score sheet. He has 3 goals in 3 games for his new employers right at Chitende. You can bet on all the games in the Uganda Premier League this weekend on www.betway.ug. Don't forget that the Uganda Cranes will be in action this weekend. We'll be returning with that right after this break.
Jimmy really likes hard work. Really. It's how he gets better at what he does. It's how he learns. It's how he impresses people. And it's how he knows United are worth it this weekend at 3.2. Oh yes, Jimmy really likes hard work. Because hard work sometimes pays off.
Now, the Ugandan population is still over the moon after the Uganda Cranes finished in the round of last 16 at the just concluded Africa Cup of Nations. Now, that came with a coaching change. The Sabra Sebastian joining new club Pyramids in the Egyptian Premier League, and that meant there is still a void. And the search for the new Uganda Cranes coach is over because the application system did close. But the Cranes will only have a new coach at the time the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers get underway. That's later on in November when the Cranes take on Burkina Faso and Malawi. But of course, the Cranes have got to honor the international break because they've still got to gel and get some players active ahead of the 2020 CHAN qualifiers, and that's for the home-based players. But the interim coach, that is Abdallah Mubiru, has summoned 13 faces that did feature the Africa Cup of Nations in Egypt, and of course he's added some other players who are home-based to form a squad that will play Kenya in the international friendly on Sunday at the Kasarani Stadium in Nairobi. Now, of course, I believe this is a good move. One, he's able to gel players and blend the side, considering there's always a turnover of players year after year, tournament after tournament. In this one, I think it would be lovely to see players like Allan Okello get a chance to start and have some time to play and at least try to form a position in this particular side, because he's come of age, at least considering the last 9 games he's scored 13 goals so far in the Ugandan leagues, and that's in for KCCA to be exact. And I think him moving and playing alongside people like Khalid Awucho in that midfield, supplying the ball to faces like Patrick Kadu, Emmanuel Okwi, who have all moved to North Africa up front, would be something of substance, because Okello will be in the squad for CHAN, because the CHAN qualifiers are for only home-based players when the Cranes do take on Burundi later on this month in a doubleheader. So I believe Abdallah Mubiru has done some fine selections. In goal, you have Dennis Onyango coming with Roberto Donkara from Horoya in Guinea, and then he's blending that with Joel Mutakubwa of Chetume Football Club here and Charles Lukwago of KCCA. It's still the same blending for all the other roles, moving to the defense where there's Timothy Awani and there's a John Revita who's also been summoned from KCCA, to a Mustafa Mujizi from Proline. Move to the midfield, it is the same story I've talked of: Allan Okello, Khalid Awucho, Farouk Mia, Alan Chambade. They've all come in. Alan Kaiwa is also joined in the squad. That is the squad that will try and blend, and probably will get the gist when the Cranes take on the Harambee Stars of Kenya. Remember, Kenya also did feature at the Africa Cup of Nations, but Kenya is already out of the CHAN qualifiers because they were eliminated by Tanzania via penalties in the qualification format. Now, of course, you can bet on this one on www.betway.ug. I actually think there will not be many goals unless Abdallah Mubiru tries to go all out and all open, which I highly doubt he will try and do. The Cranes are likely to nick this one, though, so Kenya remains a tough team at home. This is actually a derby. I can only go for an under in this one, but probably both teams won't score. I actually think it will be an under, and Kenya for me could be the favorites, but do write off Uganda at your own peril. You can bet on this one on www.betway.ug. Also, not to forget other international friendlies across the world, including Brazil, who have a big friendly against Colombia. The odd for Brazil to win is at 1.73, and that for Colombia at 4.60. I think Argentina will get the edge over Chile, and also USA and Mexico could actually end out playing a draw in that one. You can bet on all the international friendlies across the world. All the odds are available, and actually they are big odds on www.betway.ug. Now the international break on in Europe, and there they are playing the Euro 2020 qualifiers. Some teams have played 2, other teams have played 3, and that's largely because last year teams were taking part in the UEFA Nations League competition. Teams like Netherlands have only played 2 matches, and actually they're in the spotlight this weekend because on Friday they do visit Germany in Hamburg. Now this is going to be the 4th meeting between these two teams in a space of 12 months, and guess what? There have been goals. They met in the UEFA Nations League. They've already met in this group that is actually Group C, where the top 2 teams automatically qualify in the Euro 2020 qualifiers. And actually Germany did go to Amsterdam and won their 3-2 back in March. Now, of course, a lot has changed over the past few months. Not to forget that Ajax Amsterdam made it to the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League. Also, the side that is Borussia Dortmund being pipped by Bayern Munich in the German Bundesliga, and Germany itself getting into the final of the UEFA Euro Under 21 Championship that was played just a few weeks ago. Now, of course, the top scorer from that tournament has actually been included in this team. For Germany, there are some other big names that have not been selected. Once again, names like Jerome Boateng have not been called up, and the coach Joachim Löw opting to go for young talent that have joined this side. Now, Germany at home taking on Netherlands. I do think Germany are favorites to win this one. Even if the faces have changed, they still have some oomph in that side. The odd for Germany to win at 1.19 and for a draw at 3.60. And guess what? The Dutch, who only have 3 points from the opening 2 games because they beat Belarus 4-0 in the first game that they did play in this particular group, have their odd at 3.35. Now, not to forget that on the other side for the Dutch, the defender that is Matthijs de Ligt, who joined Juventus, has had a poor or shaky start at Juventus, but the coach Ronald Koeman coming out to say that he will insist on starting the same player. Of course, you'll have names like Daley Blind in this squad. Also players like Memphis Depay, who is actually the top scorer with Olympique Lyon in the French League, are all coming together. I actually think both teams will score in this particular encounter, but the Germans could edge it just narrowly. However, the impact of the result may increase pressure on Ronald Koeman and the Dutch, because the Dutch haven't qualified for the major tournaments over the last 2 occasions. They missed the Euro 2016 in France, and last year they still did not qualify for the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia. Can they miss a 3rd tournament in a row? I highly doubt that will happen. However, they'll put up a fight and hopefully revenge for that defeat that they suffered back in March. You can bet on this one on www.betway.ug. Don't forget other teams like England in Group A. They do top it with 6 points so far. They do take on the side that is Bulgaria. That is the game that we'll be playing on Saturday. Of course, not to forget that still in this very international break, England will be taking on Kosovo. I do think England will win these matches and they will score 2 goals or more. The odd for England to win on www.betway.ug is at 1.05, and that for Bulgaria at 33.10. Pretty high, I must say, but I do think England will win both games against Bulgaria and Kosovo during this international break and hopefully qualify for the Euro 2020 without any match fuse. You can bet on the other matches, including Scotland, who do take on Russia. I actually think both teams will score in that particular encounter. So many matches available on www.betway.ug. As well, do not forget that the odds for the Formula 1 are available. The drivers in Monza this weekend for the Italian Grand Prix, and I actually think it could be a Ferrari car to take this one. Sebastian Vettel ahead of Charles Leclerc. I think Vettel could go all out for this one, but not to forget Lewis Hamilton would love as well to throw out a statement in Monza in Italy. You can bet on the Formula 1, you can bet on the cricket, the boxing, so many different disciplines Odds are all available on www.betway.eg. Not to forget that special thanks for watching the Just Darren show. Will be returning next week. Just do not forget, it's Just Darren.